Alright, the video cut off from last time. So I had to come back, film a little bit more. But yeah, here's that skill space you're talking about, and that's like a possibility. You got that garbage can, not great. And then over here as well. Alright, so not exactly sure what got cut off and what didn't, but the basic idea was that I know, speaking at some point about the whole thing with the limited aspect of the skill spaces here, and then basically saying that in the future it's possible that we'll be able to have like dedicated space in these types of parks, a little bit more pronounced, or more intentional. Right now they're not really there, you just sort of like make them. So, and also kind of went through the decades and just saying that, like, hey, put things in perspective and say, like, skateboarding's been around, really with you could even go back to like the 1920s or something, where people were putting the first scooters or the first boards with wheels, but nothing really came about until let's say about the 60s or so, but then it was like on a very small level. And then it really was the 70s when you had the slalom, and you had, and then the 80s were that sort of like that punk rock hardcore era, when it was sort of like dangerous and underground, and there weren't these types of concrete skateboard parks at all. People were sort of making their own ramps and things. That resulted in a lot of injuries. Kids were showing up in emergency rooms with all these broken bones, and the doctor's like, what's going on? There's an epidemic of there's a concern in the medical community. It's like all of a sudden these kids are showing up with like broken legs, broken wrists and stuff. Like, is this child abuse? Like, what's going on? And no, it turned out to be skateboarding. But and then in the 90s, hip hop came in, and it was like the whole dynamic of like the culture sort of changed around that time. Skateboard got really, really much larger than it did in the 80s, which was really like a vert style, people making ramps, and sort of like the origins of street courses, street skating, actually skating on the street, A to B skaters, and then also sort of like using that environment we talked about before, using the obstacles in the environment, jumping ledges, staircases. Mark Gonzalez was one that kind of was getting on the rails. Mark Gonzalez was like a huge impact. Probably you would say like you'd have Rodney Mullen. He's the one guy for sure you need to know if you don't know about him. But he basically came up with like half of the tricks and variations and things that we do today. After that is like for sure Tony Hawk, of course, who landed the 900 in 1999. And a couple months later, the Activision game came out, the Tony Hawk Pro Skater, which was was amazing synergy for that all to come together like that. So going into 2000, like it's like skateboarding is just like established now, and it's just a matter of like growing it from the sort of public acceptance with the X Games, and then like just growing it out into like full blown mainstream phenomenon, activity, things that's expected almost to do. Whereas like even 20 years before, it was like you're not supposed to skateboard. That skateboarding is bad for you. Now you have the rules are are laid out before you, and no snowmobiling. I guess that's a word. So yeah, like So all this is happening, and then by the time you get to the 2000s, you're starting like the early stages of these skate parks. A bit of these elements of like these modular pieces that are made by companies and can be moved around different places. You've got those, and then you've got moving into the concrete parks, which are really a development off of skateboarders building out spaces with transitions, with concrete formed transitions. So it's really like a groundswell, grassroots kind of phenomenon. Like really, like in some ways, like the whole thing is. Obviously, there was some push by with when the urethane wheels came in, which like in the 80s, the late 70s and 80s, that like changed the game, because now your wheels will last longer. Before them, they were like metal and clay and stuff, and they would last like a day or like maybe a week or something. It depends on how hard you skated them. But now all of a sudden you get those wheels, so, and like the different board shapes, grip tape coming in, the shoes that are made more specifically for skateboarding. Even how skateboarding influenced clothing. So I mean, skateboarding has really just had this like big effect. I'm just laying this out. I'm elaborating on this because the idea is just that in the future, we want to what we're going for, what Geek's going for, and a lot of skill people, juggling people, flow people around the country and the world. I mean, the future for us is, and as we've said over and over again with these videos, it's like we are placing ourselves to be visible, to be near the skate parks. So we will be, to create that dynamic and that interplay, so that skaters can learn about yo-yoing or kendama, which is already like a thing. Skateboarding and kendama has already, I know in DeKalb, Illinois, there's a skate shop that's also connected to a really amazing skate park they have in the back. It was a renovated old-time theater, and they were selling kendamas when I was there. Also at the old Asylum skate park in like the North Chicago area, which is now, they have a new location, but so I don't know if they sell them at the new location, but they used to anyway. So I mean, there's just like some examples, but yeah, but when you go to a skate shop, you're not really going to see juggling clubs. You're not going to see flow hoops and poi, but that's really like where we're sort of getting to. And if it's not at a skate shop, which I think is a bit of a harder sell, I think at some places they will be more open to it, depending how it's packaged and everything. Obviously, if there's, if kids are coming in and asking for it, and they see that they can sell it, then that could actually happen. But it seems like there's other places that are going to be selling this equipment, this stuff. I mean, right now, I'm less concerned with that than I am with finding these places, looking at these parks, finding these skate parks, and because this is really like the more I feel like the more I do these, the more I'm like sort of getting out there, and and this is just more exciting. Actually, like seeing what these skate parks are like, and enjoying like the grounds, the surroundings, and stuff. So it's good for me. I really like it, but I think that I'm hoping that you're enjoying them, watching them as well. I know I've watched a few of them, and just like put them on in the background. They're pretty good for just having the audio on, if you can bear to hear my voice for over 30 seconds. And other than that, like you get like decent some decent footage. Like if you glance over, you're like, oh, that's walking in the park. Like it's a walk in the park. So yeah, yeah, it's a this is a nice park. What else is there to go over? I'm doing like a lot of like, I don't know how this kind of worked out this way, but I'm doing like some like reflective stuff here. I'm like doing some kind of like housekeeping a little bit. I haven't done this in other videos, so I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of rolling with it. But yeah, the idea is that going back to that, the thing about the space is just like in the future, what we want to see is that there will be these sort of designated areas where it's just understood. It's like, oh yeah, that's the spot where that's how it can start. Is at the very least, it's like, oh yeah, that's where those juggling flow people guys meet usually, dudes, dudettes, and stuff. Guys being just like anyone person, and so there could be that. But then, at some point, when who knows, when new skate parks are being built in like 2035 or 2040, at that point it's like, oh, like they're like, we're gonna just build in, or if they build like a whole park like this, if they're like, hey, we're gonna develop this land into a park, they'll be like, oh yeah, well here's a skill space, here's a flow space, because we know that there's enough interest and that's what people want. I mean, that's a lot of sometimes people, sometimes when you're not represented and you look around and you're like, well, how come what I want is not there? And then you get like indignant about it, you get upset, or you're like, well, I'm not, the basketball player's got a place to play and the football can practice or something. And it's like, I'm not, I don't feel like I'm, like part of this, right? And okay, so you've identified like something that's like lacking in your community as far as like physical space or opportunities and stuff. But the thing is, like, and and this is usually how things go. It takes like 20 years to get to the point. Like, it's like there's the generation that like identifies the gap, and then that generation has to like pass. Like, you guys are all out of there by the time it like actually, gets built out and stuff, if you're lucky, so just kind of keep that in mind. That's what happens like almost all the time. I've seen it like over and over again with different things. Critical mass bike rides, trying to make an impact on bike culture, and then like it takes 20 years for like bike lanes to get built. It's never on your schedule. I'm just being a little I don't know, a little saucy about it. How about that? So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not saying don't, go for it. It's not stopping me from doing this stuff, and eventually, the work that has to be done with building the, like, basically there's a few different things that have to happen. One is like making equipment available on the local level, so someone could just be like, hey, I want to try some like juggling rings, and they can just go get them instead of having to wait for them. And plus they can like try them out. They could try different colors. They could see exactly what they are they're getting, because it's not like I don't know, like something that's like an interchangeable part, something that you just like something that you're that you're not going to have like a it's like maybe a guess with, like, you could say like, oh, well, I know I wear an extra large, so I'm going to order this extra large shirt, and I like blue, so I'm going to order a blue extra large shirt, and I like the design, and I know I'm supporting this this company, or this, I like the things about the shirt that are important, maybe even the quality of the fabric. I know it's like a little heavier because I want it to be warmer, or maybe it's like thinner. and that's the one that I want. So like, you pick it out. But my point is that